Now for our story. At the Descari farmhouse late this afternoon, Aunt Mary Lane, her son Randy, and Bill Meade waited anxiously for the doctor to come. Bill had telephoned Dr. Lewis after discovering Carla Descari lying unconscious. There was an angry bruise on her temple, and his efforts to revive her had failed. When Aunt Mary arrived, the young woman's pulse was very weak. She lay on the floor where she had fallen, her slender body covered with a blanket. The doctor had told Bill not to move her until he came. It seemed hours, although actually it was little more than 20 minutes before the doctor's little car drew up outside. Greeting him briefly, he went straight to Carla's side. After a quick but careful examination, he announced it would be safe to move Carla into the bedroom. Carefully, Randy and Bill lifted the girl's limp body, carried her in, laid her gently on the bed. Now the door is closed on the doctor and Aunt Mary, whom Dr. Lewis had asked to help him. Randy and Bill are alone in the living room.
Randy, do you think Carla's hurt seriously?
I don't know. But she certainly didn't look too good, Bill. I wonder how she got that nasty bump on the head. You don't think Mario did it, do you?
If I were sure Mario did it, I'd... you just wait till that guy shows up.
Yeah. I'd like to see him myself. Of course, if he did do it, he may not show up.
Why, he could have... He could have killed her.
Yeah. Maybe he wanted to, for all we know.
Wanted to?
I only mean if Mario did do this thing, he must have done it in a fit of rage. He must have been out of his head, at least temporarily.
Oh, he'd have to be to do a thing like this.
Yeah.
You know, when you come right down to it, he's been off his beam for weeks.
Yeah.
And why? Because of a bunch of lies.
I know. But the trouble is, Mario never quite believed they were lies.
I know he didn't. And yet, if he had any sense at all, he'd see they must be. It stands to reason. If I had designs on Carla, would I be planning to marry Peggy? Besides, anybody but Mario could tell Carla's absolutely nuts about him.
Sure, that's all reasonable, logical. But you see, pal, Mario Descari doesn't happen to be the reasonable, logical type.
Oh, but it's crazy, Randy.
You can say that again.
There's a guy who has everything a man can want. A lovely, devoted wife, a good home, and he tosses it all away, spoils it, and all for nothing.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him, too. But at the same time...
You know, Bill, he's probably unhappier than anyone else mixed up in this.
Yeah. And yet, Randy, in a way, I feel partly to blame, too.
How come?
Well, if I hadn't become friendly with the guy, I don't think any of this would have happened.
Oh, but look here, that's crazy. You can't figure things that way.
I don't know, Randy. There they were, Mario and Carla, going along perfectly okay. And I meet them. They seem like such swell kids that I want to get to know them better. Want to be friends with them. So, out of an innocent friendship, we wind up with something that's darn close to tragedy.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But there's no way you could have avoided it, Bill.
Now, I should have minded my own business.
That's nonsense. Look, I'm not saying that I don't believe human beings have some control over circumstances. But in a case like this, where another person's emotions are involved and all the cards seem to be stacked against you, well, you can't hold yourself responsible for the other guy's emotional imbalance.
I'm glad you look at it that way. But whether I'm to blame or not, it's a darn shame you can start out with perfectly decent motives and then end up with a mess like this.
The trouble is, Bill, I guess people haven't learned to be civilized. Listen, I just thought of something. The sheriff will be here any minute.
Yeah, he said he'd come right out.
Any idea what you're going to tell him?
Well, not exactly. Except to just tell him the truth and let him draw his own conclusions. Now, after all, when you come right down to it, we don't know it was Mario who did this.
No, of course not. Actually, it's not our place to point a finger at Mario. If we did, we'd have to have a reason for doing it, and there's no sense in involving any of us. I mean, why say Mario was jealous of you and start people thinking there was really something to those vicious stories?
Well, that's the way I feel, Randy. I mean, since the whole idea was just in Mario's own head anyway, why should
Wait a minute. Sounded like a car. Yeah, that's Sheriff Goodwin, I guess.
Hello there, Sheriff. Hi, Randy. Well, what are you doing here?
Drove over with Mom. Come on in.
Okay.
Certainly got out here on the double.
Well, I didn't like the sound of it. Oh, hello, Meade.
Hiya, Sheriff.
Sit down, Sheriff.
Okay, thanks. Where's Doc Lewis? Didn't he get here?
Yeah, he got here about 10 minutes ago. He and Mom are in the other room with Mrs. Descari.
And you don't know how bad she is yet, huh?
No, we've been waiting to hear.
I see. Well, from what you told me on the phone, Bill, this sounds like a very nasty business.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is.
Guess you realize I'll have to ask a few questions.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, might as well get started right now.
Suits me, Sheriff. If there's anything I can tell you that'll help.
You might as well answer a few questions too, Randy.
Okay, Sheriff.
Now, to begin with, you'd better give me the whole story from your angle, Bill.
Well, there's not much to tell, Sheriff. I came out here this afternoon to see Mario, Mr. Descari. He wasn't home. Carla told me he'd gone into town. So I went over to Aunt Mary Lane's and had a little talk with her. After I left her, I decided that Mario would probably be home by then, so I thought I'd come back over here and see him.
Mm-hmm. Sounds as if you were pretty anxious to talk to him.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was.
What did you want to see him about?
Oh, business.
Business, eh? Okay, Bill, go on.
Well, when I got here, nobody answered the door. The house was awfully quiet. I don't know why, but I had a feeling that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
Well, when no one answered the door, I tried it, and it was unlocked, so I just walked in. Carla was lying over there on the floor.
I see. Did it look like there'd been a rumpus of any kind? A fight?
No, not especially. At least, I didn't notice much. But she looked awful. At first, I thought she'd fainted and maybe hit her head as she fell.
Mm-hmm. What made you change your mind?
For one thing, Sheriff, the way she was lying. She didn't look as if she'd crumpled up, just slumped down. She looked as if somebody had struck her. You see, there's a big bruise on her forehead.
Mm-hmm. Bill, what time was it when you got here the first time before you went over to Mary Lane's?
Oh, let's see. It was about 3 o'clock, I think.
And when you left, you went straight to Mrs. Lane's?
Yeah.
How long were you there?
Oh, about an hour, I guess.
Uh-huh. And then you must have gotten back here around 4.
I believe so, yeah.
And Mrs. Descari never recovered consciousness from the time you found her around 4 o'clock until now?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll just have to wait until she does. She'll probably tell us how it happened and who did it. You don't by any chance have some theory of your own?
About what?
Why, who it was that broke in here and attacked Mrs. Descari?
Nothing that would help much, Sheriff.
We've had quite a lot of trouble around here lately. Hoodlums breaking into stores at night and that sort of thing.
Most likely tramps, huh?
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the explanation of what happened here.
Say, you're probably right, Sheriff. I doubt if Carla's very careful about keeping the doors locked. None of us are, Tramp could have walked right in.
Sure. And this place is pretty isolated.
Mm-hmm. And you boys think it holds water, do you? That some tramp walked out here, broke in with the intention of robbery. Mrs. Descari discovered him, so he got frightened, struck her. Maybe he was just getting ready to rob the place when Bill arrived.
Sounds logical to me.
Yeah, it fits right in. I don't see how else it could have happened when you stop to think about it.
Mm-hmm. You like that explanation, don't you, Bill?
Why, I mean, like Randy said, it's logical.
Sure, it's logical, all right. Mm-hmm. You'd like me to believe that's the way it happened, wouldn't you? Crime committed by person or persons unknown, case closed. Mm-hmm, very neat. There's just one thing wrong with the story, Bill. It's too neat, and on top of that, you're too darn anxious to have me believe that that's what happened.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
You don't, huh? Well, you might as well come out with it, Bill. You might as well tell me what really happened out here today.
Randy and Bill Meade avoided each other's eyes for fear they'd give themselves away. What Sheriff Goodwin said was true. They'd each grasped hopefully at the theory he'd outlined. It would have meant there was no need to disclose the fact that Mario Descari had been wrongly jealous of Bill, had quarreled with his wife because of that jealousy. Now the two young men wondered anxiously, what did the sheriff mean when he asked Bill to tell him what really happened today? Did it mean he suspected Bill?